What's going on, you guys? It's your Huggable Hipster here with my friend Tony Polanco. Hi, how you doing, dude?
Hey, how you doing? Thank you. By the way, thank you for pronouncing my last name right. People seem to get a problem with it, like Polanco. I'm like, what the hell, Polanco?
Wait, really?
Yeah, like a lot of people say it that way. I'm like, what? Just say it how it's written. It's like not difficult.
It's not that hard. It's not that hard. We are here to talk about a multitude of topics. First of all, coffee. Hi, what are you guys drinking? I'm having leftover Dunkin' Donuts. I'm so sorry, Starbucks. And we are going to be diving into just so many different topics today. Journalism, the games that we're looking forward to, the games that we play, just a bunch of shit. So yeah, let's dive into it. I have been looking forward to this discussion for a while now, my dude.
Yes. And just to show how busy we've both been, we set this up like 3 weeks ago. Like we had a plan that far in advance because things have been like hectic on both our ends, but mostly in a good way. You know, especially like it's crazy. Like, you know, the last time I was here and up till now, it's like your channel's blown up like tremendously.
Yeah.
You know, and it's so cool to see that. So huge congrats to you.
Thank you. I just really got to 3,000 subscribers a week and a half ago, and now we're almost 3,100 subscribers, which is maddening to me. Amazing. It's just like I'm just a doof that talks about video games and journalism, and now people are just like, oh, hey, let's subscribe to this bitch, you know? That's fine.
That's how it works. Yeah, it's like, I don't know, like things like that in life are like you need to have it to get more of it. Right? It's like if you have no money, you can't get money. But as soon as you have money, you get money. And then with subscribers, the same thing. It's like you got 0 subscribers, nobody cares. But if you got subscribers, then people start caring. It's like
exactly.
But yeah, but that's good. It's going to keep building and building. It's like compound interest. You know, it just keeps going and going, which is pretty cool.
It really is. And it's one of the things too of where like one thing I've noticed, and this is where the conversation is going to start to get heated. So I just want to keep a reminder for people who are in the comment section right now. Just remember, have empathy, be nice, don't be a douche canoe, and everything will work out just fine. So let's get into journalism and what we've experienced this year, because I know that you and I both have experienced a shit ton this year. So one thing that I want to start off by saying is that when we talk about gaming journalism, there's different types, and people were not aware that there are different types of journalism and different types of editing even within journalism. So a lot of people are like, well, if you do a piece, is that an expose? I was like, no, they're completely different types. So what are your thoughts on educating the public on different types of journalism?
Here's the thing, like you could try to teach people, but they're gonna always have this vision in their head that you're not gonna be able to like, you know, get them out of it. You know, it's like when people think of journalism, they think of like whatever's shown in movies, basically a bunch of people in a busy newsroom running around typing stuff, getting yelled at by editors and all that. That could be true to some extent, but not really for what we do. You know, like even you and I, we do very different types of journalism. You're more of a video journalist, right? I'm a more of a traditional typey type journalist and stuff. But the thing is, at the same time, we both have to deal with a lot of the fallout because, you know, since we are in these positions, people kind of look at us as like figures of authority, and because of that, we'll get more flack than usual. You know, which is I guess par for the course, but it's a big target. But no, to answer your question, I never thought about that. Like, I don't know how to properly educate people because, again, you could have like the greatest like video or article explaining all this stuff. People are still gonna, you know, they're gonna see things the way they're gonna see it. You know, like I think it was this year, like, or it could have been last year, but within the last couple of years, I know, I think it was revealed that most IGN writers don't really make a lot of money. You know, and people were like, shocked.
Exactly. I saw that too.
Yeah, people were shocked. I'm like, why are you shocked about this? Like in game journalism, it's pretty bad. This is why, just being honest, this is why I transitioned to being a tech journalist, because I wanted to make money. You know, like I was making money off of being a game journalist, but I was a freelancer. Every month, the pay was different. You know,
that's the thing that people don't get is that the money it differs every single time. That's why game journalists are always looking for the next thing to keep the pay going and influxing.
Exactly. But the thing is, like, even in general, right? I'm talking about, like, any kind of journalist. Most people think journalists are just rich. No, I'm talking about any type of journalism. I'm even talking about people from the New York Times. Even they're struggling to pay the bills. Like, these are New York Times. I'm not making this up. So like, I don't know where this. That's one of the biggest myths. Like, oh, you guys are journalists, you get paid. Nah. Even now, right? Like, I make good money. Half my money goes to rent. Granted, I live in New York, but still. I got to be careful. I can't just splurge on everything. So that's an idea that's probably the most annoying thing to me. People think like we live these like lavish lifestyles or whatever because we're journalists, or because quote unquote you get free shit. Like, dude,
that is something that, okay, I know we covered this last time, but this has been the year that people have really tried to bring that out in the rat race. And it's one of those things that I've noticed even more so on my end of where people are like, oh, wait a second, can you just get a key from the developer? It's like, no, unless they know us personally, or unless we have a good reputation in the community, or unless you're Markiplier, which no diss to Markiplier, it's just one of those things of where like you need to have the popularity and the numbers behind it, or else you're getting shit.
Yeah, no, you're right about that. This is something I discussed a while ago, right? Because I'm not going to name any names, but there are some people I personally knew that they were pretty good, like they were doing well as in game journalism, maybe not making a lot of money, but they were well known, right? And they just had this idea, I'm doing okay. I'm going to leave this site and break out on my own. You never hear from them again, right? Yeah, because like, okay, just because you have your whatever site you write for, and I'm just speaking about like just traditional game journalism, whatever site you write for, that's who PR is messing with, not you. You leave, everything's gone, right? Like me, I'm under no illusion that if I leave right now, like just break out on my own, all the PR contacts I have, they'll all dry up instantly. Yep. Right? Because that's just how it is. So unless you have a following, unless you have numbers, you're not going to get quote unquote free shit. And even that stuff, right? And in this case, I'm talking about game codes. It comes with a condition that you have to play the game and review it, right? And that is a whole other thing. Playing a game for a review is not the same as playing it for fun. It is a totally different thing. Like, for example, Elden Ring came out. I actually said, no, I don't want to review this because I want to play it for fun. Right?
Yeah, I remember that.
God of War, Ragnarok when it came out, and I said the same thing with the first God of War, 2018 one. My second playthrough, I'm like, hey, I can actually play it for fun now. So that first playthrough ain't for fun. You got to just think about stuff and everything, So yeah, that quote unquote free stuff is conditional too because you're not enjoying it like everybody else. I even had some people like I forgot I was talking about hardware. Like, oh, don't they just give you that stuff? I've never had a PlayStation or an Xbox or anything given to me. All that stuff I bought myself. Actually, that's what it was. I bought the SSD for PS5, right? Because it was on sale during Black Friday, and I'm like, yo, I just copped this for $70 off, right? And people are like, oh, can't Sony just give that to you?
Jesus.
Like, first of all, that's Samsung, right? And second of all, no, it doesn't work like that. I've never ever had hardware given to me. And any hardware that was given to me, and I'm talking about it's like technology now, you know what happens? You got to send that right back to where it came from, So
exactly.
I don't, but it's one of those things you can't, no matter how hard you try, people are going to believe what they're going to believe, And
that's the thing too. There's the kind of this rose-colored aura that's over what people see, like on TikTok or on YouTube or anything like that, where people only show the good side of it. And I'm here to tell you, all of you got to remove the fucking rose-colored glasses because it's tough for us out here. Like, Tony, as well as you are doing, it is still rough. Because when people think of gaming journalism, they think of the good stuff. They don't think of the realistic side of how many years you're literally grinding and pushing yourself to do something that doesn't feel like it's going to come to fruition.
Yeah. Oh, my God. Like, I could tell you stories about that. Like, I think for the first 5 years of me doing this, I was making a single cent. Right? It's a little bit of a cliche. It's like, it's always darkest before the light or whatever. I went through that too. I was about to quit. I'm like, this isn't going anywhere. And then I got some freelance stuff, but it took 5 years. Like, there is no journalist that I know, I'm talking about any kind of journalist, that quote unquote just sprung up overnight. They've been busting their ass forever, Like, I've been doing this shit for 12 years now, right? Since like 2010, October 2010 is when I started this.
Wow.
And I didn't get my first paycheck. Remember, I started in October 2010. I didn't get my first paycheck till November 2015.
Jeez.
And before that, think about it. I've been to multiple E3s, been to multiple events. I had to pay for all that stuff out of pocket. No company sent me to E3. No company paid for my hotel. So it sucks that and the story I'm telling right now, it's not just for me. This is the story of every independent journalist, which is 99% of gaming journalists, by the way. It's very, the 1% or whatever. And I know that's a bad connotation. I'm saying this just in a realistic way. They are the ones that actually work for an established company and they get flown out of it. Most gaming journalists are just like me and you. We're just regular people we love gaming and we just have we're talented enough to actually be able to articulate why we like the things we like or dislike the things we like. But most people are grinding. There's so many people that I started with, they're not here. They're not here anymore because they weren't making any money.
Going off from what you were discussing about the 99% of us who are just like you and me, we are doing journalism not only because we love it now, but because we've actually gotten ourselves into a career with it and everything. Is this something that you would recommend for someone if they honestly wanted to dive into it? Like, give us a tea on why, what the honesty behind it is. Because a lot of people think that when you're a journalist, you get to report on games, you get to do all this stuff, but not too many people talk about the kind of the truth behind what you're actually experiencing, both in the field. And I mean, when I say in the field, I mean the negative tweets, the doxing, all that kind of shit. Not too many people discuss that.
Yeah, no, it's funny. I haven't thought about this recently, and I bring up the word recently for a reason, because when I first started, it was a lot different than it is now, with regard to social media. Twitter was around and all that, right? But it wasn't on this level where if you say the wrong things, you're done, So I would tell people, if you want to get into this, you need to be prepared. Now, okay, first of all, you need to be ultra passionate about it. And you have to be single-minded in your focus, because it's not going to be, you may not even make it. I'm not going to say, because people want a clear path to success. Sometimes there isn't. Like I said, there are people that I started with who are not around anymore. They're still alive, obviously, but they're not around doing this anymore because it's just too much, So I would say, you need to be develop that thick skin quick, right? And I'm talking about not just with the stuff you got to deal with, but just because you may not make it, so you need to be extremely passionate about it, and you need to work hard at it every day, be consistent. Consistency is important with anything, but this is kind of related. I remember when people used to ask me in the beginning, hey, how did you get into game journalism? I told them what I did, and it was still viable, but then things changed. In the beginning, I would tell them, get yourself on an independent website. Doesn't matter if they don't pay or not, get yourself on there. Make sure they've been around for a while, get your chops up or whatever. Go to events, go to E3, all that good stuff. And then eventually, you'll probably get picked up by a freelance position or whatever. Keep doing that. And then, with luck and perseverance or whatever, you probably land a gig. But even, it's funny because this is the answer I told people now. I don't know what the answer would be right now, but after that, I would tell people oh, how do you get to game journalism? But start a Twitch channel and good luck. because the actual writing portion of it has it's still important, obviously, but influencers and all that stuff has just become so big. I'm and I get it. And I'm saying this as a journalist too. I understand. You see an article and you see a byline. That's not as compelling as somebody on camera playing a game that you like, talking to you.
Yeah. That's why game walkthroughs and game playthroughs are so intriguing to a lot of people, because it's kind of oh, you're getting this firsthand knowledge from this content creator or journalist that is giving it to you for free. You don't have to go through the subscription page. You don't have to do any of that unless you have YouTube Premium or something like that. But it's so fascinating that you mentioned that, because that's one of the reasons that people say oh, I'll just find it on YouTube. I'll find a tutorial. I'll find all the information I know there, because all of the information that people get, actually really a lot of on Dark Souls even, is through YouTube channels. It's not through articles.
For sure. Yeah, but again, it's just so interesting how much things have changed. I remember when I used to go to events and stuff, press events, I'd be asked, hey, what publication do you write for, right? And I noticed in the last 5 years or so, I literally get asked this, what publication do you write for? what game do you stream?
Oh, wow.
I'm like, what? I'm not
Wow.
a streamer. I'm like, what? But because a lot of streamers and influencers, they get invited to events now, and I get it. And I'm going to say something that's probably going to offend some people, but I'm just going to say it, right? If I was PR, I would rather work with an influencer, because with a game journalist,
Yeah.
you're kind of you're held to a higher standard, right? You can't just kiss ass of a game or whatever, right? Because it's gonna seem a little suspect, right? And you're already trained to be critical, right? Like, and I don't mean critical in a bad way. You're just trained in general. With influencers, it's like starry eyed, like I can do whatever I want. And if you're discovered that you're doing something bad, like taking money under the table, no one cares, because they're like, oh yeah, it's like your influencer or whatever. Listen, I've never done this obviously, but if it were discovered that I'd taken money on the table, I'd lose my job instantly.
It's different.
You know?
It's very different. And that's the thing too, of where like, that's why I'm kind of the black sheep of YouTube. I don't fall in line with like the Logan Pauls or like really the anybody's of YouTube. I have respect for certain people, but it's like I've created my own little bubble of where like you gotta stay the fuck away from me and your drama, and I'll do the same, because I'm not about to let my reputation get tarnished, Elden Ring, from somebody who wants to do harm not only by their community but to the reputation, because there's a difference between selling out and making an honest living.
Yeah, exactly. So that's one of the things that kind of frustrates me with when it comes to influencers, right? Like the fact that they're not held to the same standard I am, right? This is why I kind of do get a little offended when people call me an influencer.
I've seen
No, I'm
that
not. It really upsets me. I don't like that. Yeah.
I've seen it so much on Twitter. You're just like, I am not a fucking influencer.
I'm not. Yeah, I actually snapped at a like colleague for calling me that. I was a little drunk too, but so.
Oh sure, blame the alcohol.
Yeah, but she knew what she was doing, because she knows I don't like that, But yeah, but just going back to your original question, I still think the way I got into it is still somewhat viable. You start writing in a blog or whatever, get your build up like the writing muscle or whatever. Obviously look at a bunch of sites that you're influenced by, writers are influenced by, then try to get into the game journalists, because there's still a lot of independent sites out there that are willing to take good writers, and then that'll build you up from there. But yeah, the writing gig is a lot harder now because of influencers, because again, it's just because even though I have my quote unquote issues with influencers, as an audience member, I totally get it. I'd rather watch a person on video than read something. I get it. I completely understand that. And I appreciate the hustle too, because the other thing I hear, and again, I'm just in all fairness, when I hear, oh, you're an influencer, you just play games all day. That shit is hard. Playing the same game all day, acting and all that's difficult. So I respect the hustle for sure. And making videos and editing, that is hard shit.
Especially imagine having to upload either once or twice every single day.
Yeah, every single day. That's the thing. That has changed too when I first started, right? Because I used to kind of do the influencer thing. You only needed a video once a week and you were good. Then it became every day. Now it's like you got to upload twice a day. It's probably going to get crazier than that, because there's just so much competition now, But
I'm gonna get gray hairs by the end of this shit.
Yeah. But I respect the hustle, because there's people telling me like it's the equivalent, and I get this all the time too. Oh, you're a game journalist. Oh man, you must play. It must be great to play games all day. I wish I was playing games all day. Playing games is probably the least thing I do all day, because writing takes up most of it. Think about that. I want to play a game, but I can't play a game because I got to write about the game, And I'm not saying this to be sympathetic. I'm just saying that, this is a job just like anything else. This is a job like anything else. But the landscape is just so wildly different now. It's crazy. It's crazy.
It is, and that's the thing of where like I found this year for me personally has been the most growth I've ever experienced in my almost 7 years of doing content creation on YouTube.
Yeah.
And when I look at it, I just can't believe that's already almost been 7 years. Holy shit. Because I started this shit in college. I never thought that it would get to this. And then when people say, this is going into the next topic we're going to be talking about is doxing. And the whole, all of the shit talk and everything like that, because I was very close to deactivating my Twitter a few months ago.
Oh, wow.
Very close, very close. there is certain things of where when you go into content creation, when you go into journalism, especially gaming journalism, and I think sports journalism too, there's a lot of it there as well. You are told by people, you should just take the shit that you're given because you signed up for this. It's like, I signed up for content creation. I signed up to change people's minds and educate people, to make people more aware of different things that they might have not been before. I did not sign up to be harassed, bullied, racially discriminated against, and borderline doxxed. So no, like whenever we sign up for something, you don't read the fine print and say, oh yes, this is included in the terms of service.
Yeah, and again, that's something that's changed completely when I first started.
Yeah.
That's when I sound like a fucking old man saying this stuff, and it's only been like 12 years. But yeah, again, that whole doxing stuff, don't get me wrong, that still happened, right? But not to this extreme, right? And I'm going to say this right now, this is going to be really controversial, but I'm not going to try to delve into it. Gamergate changed everything.
It did.
Right?
It did.
Gamergate changed everything. Before Gamergate, game critics, game journalists were actually more respected than movie critics, right? Like when it came to a movie critic, you're like, you just dismiss them outright. But when it came to game journalists, I'm like, okay, they're a gamer, they're cool, whatever. Gamergate, I'm not going to get into all the particulars of that.
There was a lot of
it.
That
changed the game. That changed the game. Like, pardon the pun there, but like after that, people stopped trusting game journalism. Yeah. Rightfully so in some cases. To a degree, rightfully so. to a degree, rightfully so. I'm not saying there wasn't bullshit on the other end, but both sides, are to blame to some extent. But that opened the gates to a lot of things. It's just, okay, fuck these people. I'm going to go after them. Right? That's when I started being like really targeted after the fact. Like, oh, this guy's a game journalist. Fuck this guy. I never had to deal with that before, And I'll say this because the other thing people are kind of jealous about, I'm just calling it what is jealous, the blue check mark. I never got so much shit in my life until I got that goddamn thing. Like
it's true though.
Yeah, like I had to, like I know you considered leaving Twitter. I get that. I never got to that point, but I had to close my DMs because the death threats became too much. I'm being honest. The death threats were too, and I got a thick skin.
Yeah,
I thought most of this shit was hilarious. I'm like, you're really like, this is public. You're threatening me publicly that you're gonna kill me on the streets. People actually said this to me. It's like, but I'm like, even it adds up. It adds up. So that's one thing. Like they should, like if they're in journalism school. I never been to journalism school. I think that should be at least a week. Like, let's teach you how to deal with this shit because you're gonna get it. Right. One thing, I've told you many times, like, don't read the comments. I stopped reading the comments years ago.
Yeah,
right?
it's difficult
like
at
in
times
my reviews,
because like I want to read feedback from people. I want to try to at least like be open if they have like genuine feedback, and then my eye catches something, and I'm like, because this year I'm gonna be honest with all of you, including you, Tony. Like this year was the worst for my mental health, because like I got a lot of success, but what came with it was fear of the people who support me. And it's kind of like something that goes back to a comedy routine, actually, that Bo Burnham did, which it's very true. Like, I'm afraid of you. I want to please you, but also I want to be able to say what I want to say and not get shit for it. But, you guys are coming out to see me with a person who has a steadily declining mental health. And it's one of those things of where, like, I can only take so much at one point. Because this year, because I know that you were seeing it on Twitter and everything like that, there were a few reviews that I posted that got a lot of flack. And there were a few things that I said about game journalism of where, like, all we want to do is educate people, teach people. That tweet popped off for some fucking reason. I don't know why. Most harassment I've got besides Fallout 3 and my Warpath review combined. To the point of where I was literally like, I heard my phone notifications go off and my stomach and heart dropped.
Yeah, no, for sure. And that's a danger because I notice a lot of content creators in general. I'm talking about writers, video people, whatever. Mm-hmm. Like they, they're, I guess because of the nature of things, they're just a little bit more sensitive, right? Mm-hmm. I'm not saying that in a bad way. They're just more sensitive to things. So that's how creativity works, right? So you have people that maybe already be a little bit more sensitive. Then they got to deal with this stuff. They're already kind of going out there to begin with, already leaving their shell. and then they got to deal with this stuff. It's crazy. I remember I turned off my notifications from Twitter years ago, and it wasn't even because of bad stuff. It's just I get hit up all the time and stuff. But yeah, the death threats, even for somebody like me, I'm like, okay, I don't really need to be dealing with this. Like, strangers tell me they're gonna kill me because I said some shit about Xbox or PlayStation.
Yeah.
Like, bro, we're really doing this,
Yeah,
And this year, it's gonna. Nothing bad came of this, but it was the year like where I definitely got the most attention because of Twitter, and it was stupid, right? The whole because I dared to say I'm unsubscribing from Xbox Game Pass.
Same with Gene as well, because everything started whenever you guys were posting about it and actually being honest with your opinion. God forbid, right?
Yeah, I'll tell you this. I may have told you the story, but I don't think I've said this publicly, or I may have. I'm not sure, but either way, right? Okay, I'm always like not afraid, but in the back of my mind, I'm always afraid that something that happens on Twitter will get back to my actual job and get me fired, right? So you could imagine what went through my head when I'm just at work in the office, chilling, doing my thing. And my boss comes up to me, "Hey, Tony, Kotaku wrote about you."
I remember that.
I was like, "What?" Kotaku wrote, and a bunch of other sites wrote an article. Users are unsubscribing from Game Pass. What is going on here? And they quoted me and Gene all day, every day, right?
Yeah,
and my boss was just like, "Yo, you should look into this," right? So I looked into it. It was exactly what I thought. 2 journalists, me and Gene, and they turned into everybody's unsubscribing for Game Pass. So these sites, like, they just made my life annoying because I had my own boss telling me this. I'm like, "Yo, bro." He was okay with it, obviously. And then people at the office, and they're like, "Oh, Tony, you're an influencer." I had to deal with all this nonsense. I'm like, "Oh my God, bro." So, like, and it's funny because I feel that I do a good enough job not saying things. I used to say some really incendiary shit back in the day on purpose, right? Because I was just like, "You guys are getting mad over this gaming stuff? Really?" Like, I would literally tweet out, like, and this was just even earlier, so I would literally, Ariel, I'm not lying, you've seen these tweets. I would literally tweet out Xbox Game Pass, 3 words, chaos, all over the timeline. That's it, 3 words. No opinion, just Xbox Game Pass. That's it.
I tweeted Death Stranding at one point, and everyone was like, it's a walking simulator. It's a this. I was like, you are walking with passion, okay? Don't diss Death Stranding like this.
Like, yo, I don't know what it is. Like, maybe the pandemic just made people even crazier. They've been holed up forever. We had to deal with this fucking mass bullshit. It's like, maybe it just, like, really unhinged people or whatever. But it's like, bro, slow down. This is not that serious. Also, let's just state the obvious, too. Let's just be real here. You're a woman. You're getting more stuff because of that. Look, but it's seriously, like, with fanboys, and I'm gonna say this right now, right? I'm just gonna say it. Yeah. The only time that some of these crazy people, not all guys, obviously, some of these guys will get any attention from a woman is to shit on them on the internet. And if he gets a rise out of them, like, "Oh, I get an interaction with her," So that's why you specifically have to deal with a bunch of. I gotta deal with a lot of bullshit too. But I guarantee you, it's nothing what you have to deal with. I guarantee you that. I've been doing this way longer. I guarantee you, I haven't suffered anywhere near as close as you have within this year alone.
There have been people, and I might have to bleep out this word, but there have been people who have assumed that the only reason that I got into being a game journalist is because it just didn't work out for me.
See, I never had to deal with any comments like that. That's what I'm saying. Like, women really get it rough here, especially with these crazy fanboys and stuff. So that's why I give you, like, ultra respect doing this, because it ain't easy. I'm not saying that's some white knight bullshit. I'm just saying as a fact,
But also, you're a friend of mine who sees the shit that goes on within the comments section, not only on my channel, but on my Twitter page as well.
I don't know if you know this other game journalist called Stephanie Miner.
I do. She's one of my friends.
She is awesome, but she has gotten a lot of shit in the last week for daring to want to play the Hogwarts game.
Yeah. Yeah.
So and that's what I'm saying. If it was a guy saying that, I guarantee it wouldn't be as bad.
Here's the thing though, and it's like she and I have talked about this, right? She knows my opinion on it. I'm not going to be playing the wizard game for obvious reasons.
The wizard game, yeah.
Because for me personally, it's just like I don't support the writer, I don't support the ideals within the game, so I'm not just going to play it. But that doesn't mean I'm not going to, that doesn't mean I'm going to trash someone for wanting to play the game, because when you're a game journalist, or if you are a mega corporation like IGN or Kotaku or any place, you have to cover the game regardless.
Yeah.
And they don't come at that like big corporations, because a lot of people figure, what's the point? It's a bigger corporation, but they attack the smaller independent journalists because they think, oh, we can get a rise out of them.
Yeah, exactly. And it also makes them feel self-righteous too. It's like, oh, I'm not supporting this game because I'm a better person. Get over yourself.
It's ridiculous.
It's bad. Yeah. So it's tough. Like you really need to develop like a thick skin. And I know, especially with like video producers or whatever, people like you, I understand you do need to go into the comments, right? To, see what people are saying.
Yeah.
But man, that's not easy. Like I have the luxury of just not looking at like when I write or anything I write, I don't look at the comments. Like I look at the comments on Twitter, obviously the replies, but like for my professional work, the stuff I get paid for, I've never read any of those comments. Even when like the higher ups like Tony, you should probably go interact. No, I'm not doing it. Not doing it. I've dealt with too much shit. Like my thing is, as long as my boss is happy with my work, I don't care.
That's the only person you need to impress.
Yeah, as long as my boss is happy, I'm not care. I'm not reading these comments. So this is a very like low, like I wish I could say something happy about this, like positive, but it fucking sucks. It's like I forgot who said this, but it's like, okay, if you open the door and you constantly get punched in the face, you're gonna stop opening the door. That's how I feel about comments.
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, like, I'm very grateful for the fact that my comments on YouTube are angels in comparison to Twitter. That's the thing. Like, once in a blue moon, it's become a little more consistent, unfortunately. But once in a blue moon, I will get that negative comment. I will get someone trying to be, a mansplainer or just a dick in general. But the majority of the hateful comments that I get personally, and I know that Stephanie might get, are on Twitter. Because people have more access to Twitter, one. And two, people can make several accounts. With Google, I think you can only make so many, and then they kind of like cut you off at a certain point there. Let them
exactly.
When you're at the bar, it's like, hey, this is just your cutoff right now. But with Twitter, I feel like it's so dangerous too, because when we go into a comment section or when we're asking a genuine question, we don't expect to get bitch slapped with replies saying that, well, you're stupid, you shouldn't have asked that question. It's like, bitch, I wouldn't have asked the question if I already knew the answer to it.
No, there's something about Twitter that just makes people just angrier, more
feral.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, feral. Yeah, that's a proper word. Well, by the way, I found this out about Twitter, which is super intriguing, right? I believe there are like 300 million like registered users or whatever.
Oh, jeez.
But something like that. But check this out. This is where it gets interesting, right? Apparently, out of all those people, only about 100,000 are actually active users. Think about that. This platform that's like supposed to be so influential that barely has anybody interacting on it. And the people who are interacting on it are the loudest, craziest people. And this is like an exact number. Like that 300 million may be a little off or whatever, but this is an actual number. Okay, let's have fun now. What percentage of the world's population do you think is on Twitter?
Probably, I would say at least 68%.
68%. That's how many you think are on Twitter. The world's population, right?
Yeah.
You're gonna have to go considerably down.
Oh, seriously? Wait. Okay. So if I'm gonna go considerably down, 32%.
Keep going.
15%. 5%.
Slightly up. You're in the single digits.
7.2%.
6%.
Holy shit.
6%.
That's it?
I'm gonna tell you. 6% of the entire world's population. I don't know what was it, 7-8 billion people now. Out of all that, only 6% of people are on Twitter. There are entire continents that are not on Twitter, right? But the thing is, the reason why you have like news articles, even TV spots, this happened on Twitter. Who's mostly on Twitter? Journalists, right? So anything that happens on Twitter is a big deal and they report on it. But to most people, nobody gives a fuck what's going on Twitter. Actually, no, that's incorrect. No one knows what's happening on Twitter. Wow. Right? So, yeah. So think about that. Out of all those people that are registered users that are not bots, because there's probably a lot of bots, it's only about 100,000 people interacting on this platform. And it affects culture so much just because a lot of people that are on it, every journalist is on Twitter. So to them, it's a big deal. It's kind of like most news outlets I'm talking about, like, like on TV news, where are they based out of? They're based out of New York. That's why, and any little thing happens in New York, it gets reported across the world. Most people don't care that there's a leak on 42nd Street. But to a journalist, it's the biggest thing ever. So I find that very fascinating, and it was it was off a video basically saying, it was about Avatar 2, right? Yes. They were like saying, if you're on Twitter, you would think that no one gives a fuck about Avatar 2, right? And this is before the movie came out, by the way. Like, in your mind, it's such a big thing because we're on it, but it's not that big of a deal. And I'll tell you this story. I don't know if I told you this story, but this really brought it home for me. This was years ago, right? I got into some Twitter spat, going back and forth with these idiots. I don't do this anymore, but I was just going back and forth with these people. And that day, I went to a bar, and I'm telling a friend about what happened on Twitter. I stopped myself halfway. I'm like, I sound like a fucking idiot. This isn't important. Like, as I told the story of what happened on Twitter, I'm like, wow, that's really something stupid to get worked up over.
Interesting. Because our mind makes a bigger deal out of it than it actually is when we're in that universe, submerged in it. So once we remove ourselves entirely, like, you took a week off of Twitter and you were like, this is the healthiest I've ever felt. But of course you have to continue staying on there because work, obligations, all that kind of thing. If it weren't for work and if it weren't for all of the stuff that you had to be obliged to do, would you still be on Twitter right now?
Oh, hell no.
Same.
I'd be gone in an instant, right?
Yeah.
I remember, one of these kind of weirdo fantasies I have is like, man, if I ever had fuck you money, I'd just go off on Twitter and just go say whatever I really want. But the reality is, if I had fuck you money, I wouldn't be on Twitter at all. I'm like, no, I don't need to deal with this stuff. If I really care about you, like, I'm just going to text you. I don't need to see you on Twitter like that. Like, again, the people that I like really care about, like, that I meet on Twitter, I make sure I have your number. I got your number real fast. Like, okay, this girl's cool. We're cool. Let's, when that's how we mostly interact. So if Twitter leaves, I still got you in my life. I still got a bunch of people in my life. Exactly. I'm fine. So it's not important to me at all.
And that's the same with Stephanie, and that's the same with Gene, because he said in Twitter once, I remember this, as if this ship actually goes down, here's my Discord. And he only accepted ones from 3 people, you, myself, and I think one other. I felt special instantly.
Yeah. I could text you whenever I want. Like, so the real important people to me, like, I have contact with. I talk to Paris and Danny from Gamer Tag Radio every day.
I have to tell you something about Paris. He completed the mutual, and I was like,
oh, nice.
I honestly, not gonna lie, I kind of had a fangirl moment because I really respect his stuff a lot, and I was like, hold on a second here.
Yeah. Oh no. Paris is great. I've known this guy for like forever. He's such a great dude. I consider him a brother. But yeah, and speaking about harassment, he gets so much shit.
I saw the shit he gets.
For 2 reasons, right? One, he is probably the biggest influencer out there. Like, in gaming, he is super up there, and he's also black, right? And the sad part is, and I've talked about this before, like, as minorities, we get the most flack from our own people. It is really bad.
I don't know why.
It's the way it is. Like, I've been doing this for a very long time. I never had white people come after me like the way Hispanics come after me. It is really crazy. And Paris deals with, like, I talk with him about this all the time, about how our own people are like, they have a crab in a bucket mentality. Yeah. For those who don't know, it's like, if you have a bunch of crabs in a bucket, one crab who's going to try to get out, others are going to pull them right back down. I don't understand that. It's like, we should all be celebrating each other, especially as minorities in the industry. Like, when I see another Hispanic, I'm like, let's go. Let's do this. What can I do to help you out? Not saying that I won't help you out if you're not a Hispanic. I will obviously do that. You know, like you're not Hispanic. I try to help you out. You know, but I also do feel kinship too, because we are minorities or whatever.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's a bad thing. We should be trying to help each other out, but it is sad. Like all my detractors, the biggest ones. I'm not talking about anonymous haters. I'm talking about people who actually know me. They've been Hispanic. It's fucked up. You know, so and just seeing stuff Paris has to deal with, like he's been called like the hard N-word to his face.
Oh my God.
You know, it's like it's bad, you know, and then people like in these goddamn Twitter spaces, which I think are just breeding grounds for toxicity. Like people saying how they're, you know, like just I'm gonna kill this guy over because of Game Pass or something like that, you know?
It's ridiculous because that's the thing of where like I draw the line at certain things and how to interact on Twitter, because there's only so much you can do to, I don't want to phrase this exactly, inform people. And again, I use the word educate people in the best way possible. Even if you have the best intentions, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't.
Yeah.
So damn it, you might as well.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. You have to just go for it because you're going to get shit regardless, right? It doesn't matter. Think about it. I got shit for subscribing to Game Pass. I got shit for unsubscribing. Can't win. And it's over a service, which is...
You know what's funny about that? You mentioned that. I got so much shit for saying that I prefer PS5 over Xbox, which I do. You guys can fight me in the comments if you want to. They're delivering the most quality right now. Xbox, what are you guys doing? Like, honestly, listen, for those who don't believe me, I own an Xbox Series X. I own a PS5. I own a Switch. I own a Game Boy Color. What do you want from me? Okay? Jesus Christ.
You can't win. Yeah, you can't win at all.
Because the thing is that with PS5, though, whenever I was talking about it, because I was half tempted, actually, right now, because I did a video, like a comparing the two consoles, and I'm thinking of updating that video, because when it comes to PS5, I think of this system as a true upgrade to its predecessor. When I look at Xbox, there are a few things that are upgraded, but it's basically the same. There's no new integrated, whatchamacallit. It's like the same menu. It's the same stuff that you would normally get. A little bit of a faster processor, a little, a better controller as far as like being able to share pictures, being able to do things more intuitively. But the controller's design is still the same. PS5 changed the controller's design, they changed the entire hardware design, and they changed the entire menu system setting, everything like that. So whenever I see PS5, I'm like, this is like the best upgrade we've seen in game consoles in years, objectively.
Yeah. Let me ask you, did you own a PS4 Pro?
I did, and that was my gateway into playing PlayStation, and that was just last year.
Okay, and the reason I bring this up because I don't disagree with what you said, but when I got the PS5, it felt like I just kind of slightly upgraded.
Interesting.
To me, it felt like getting because I had a PS4 when it came out, get the PS4 Pro when it came out, and getting the PS5 felt like the leap from PS4 to PS4 Pro. I'm like, oh, not that much, is it? Yeah, okay. And I didn't really feel that way at all. Like it. And I'm just saying that's how I felt. Yeah. Obviously, the PS5 is way it's beyond like technologically and stuff, way beyond the PS4, right?
Oh yeah.
But I'm just like, because I got it, I'm like, I just transferred my. I didn't have to transfer anything. What am I talking about?
That's interesting.
All my stuff was already in the cloud. I'm like, I just toss a game in, or download a game because I don't mess with physical games, and just pick up where I left off. I'm like, I'm like, this is interesting. There's some obviously other thing. By the way, that's the other thing I got flack for this year because I dared to say the PS5 was hard to. Oh, listen, when you have 14 years, it's probably longer. When you have like 14, 15 years of muscle memory of holding the button down to turn it off, you can't just switch that off, right? They're like, wait, you've had a PS5 for 9 months. How come you haven't learned to turn it off? Because I barely play because there's no games for it. You know, like I think last year I played the PS5 maybe for 2 games. This year for another 2 games. I barely play the system because there's nothing on there like that really compels me. This year I played Horizon, which is awesome. Yeah. Then I played God of War, which was also awesome. That's it. That's all I played on PS5, and Elden Ring, which is incredible, obviously. Yeah. But that's not a lot of. That alone is not going to rewrite the memories I have of regular PS5. Where you hold the button down, the menu pops up, and then you turn off. This one, you have to press the button, then the menu pops up. It's a different wiring, but obviously, oh, look at that fucking game journalist doesn't know how to turn off a PS5.
Oh my God, yeah, I've seen so much flack that you get for that. And you know what's weird is that you got flack for getting digital the same way I got flack for getting physical. It's like, it's such a waste of space. It's a waste of the trees. I'm like, okay, first of all, I'm a collector. That's what I do. I love it. So you do you. Because I'm not hurting. Like, look at me existing over here without needing your approval. Like, isn't that lovely? Don't you want to live in a world where we don't need one another's approval for shit?
Yeah. By the way, it's funny that I got flack for digital. I own a physical PS5. I own, because I couldn't buy the digital one. Like, the digital one was like a unicorn for a long time. Like, you thought the PS5 was hard to get? The all digital one, that's the one I wanted. I couldn't get it. So I'm like, okay, it's either wait for it or get the regular one. I got the regular one, which in retrospect is a good thing. I don't own any physical PS5 games, but I do like the fact I could put movies in, you know. Exactly. So which is good, but yeah, I don't understand. I mean it's a related topic. It's like, yo, buy your own business. Let me do what I'm gonna do. You do what you're gonna do. Exactly. You know. But the thing is, the problem is, and you and I have spoken about this before, how people tie their self-worth into brands, right? Exactly. So whenever you or we critique something, they don't take that as us critiquing the brand. No. We're criticizing them. And they get very upset about that. Just like when people get upset about like their favorite movies or whatever.
Oh, listen, my gosh, yeah.
It's okay for you to like bad movies. Just admit it's a bad movie. It doesn't make you a bad person. You know, like I've seen like people kind of, go ahead.
No, it's the same way that I love Morbius. And everybody was just like, that movie sucked. Why do you like it? I was like, I know it sucks, but it has Jared Leto. I love it. It's good for me. It's a good time. It has nothing to do with the comic books in the least, but it's fun. And that's why you can, like you said, you can admit it's bad, but you can still enjoy it.
Yeah, exactly. And again, you liking a bad movie, and this is in general, liking bad content doesn't make you a bad person. It's okay. It doesn't. The things you consume do not reflect on you. They don't. You're an autonomous being, and that's an inanimate object. You don't have to worry about, but people just tie their self-worth, and it's pretty sad. I'm like, it's always been somewhat of a thing in nerd culture, but now it's like really like you gotta like, it's like everything's like politics and like sports and stuff. Like people just take this so seriously.
It is, yeah.
You know, yeah. It's sad, and that's a whole other conversation. I'm not gonna get into it. But you think gaming is bad?
Oh my God.
On Twitter, politics is even worse. That's why I have people that have known me for years. Like, Tony, I don't know what your politics are. That's on purpose.
It is.
I'm not telling you. You know, because you will lose friendship.
Because the thing is that people haven't been too bad on Instagram, but they've been the worst on Twitter. So I decided to cut everything off there. I cut everything off on Discord. And this is for people's safety. Just in case you guys didn't know, there are scam rings that are being conducted on Discord. So if you guys ever get like messaged by someone who is telling you that you are trying to scam someone on Steam, the game company, don't message them back at all, because I was stupid. I didn't know this. Their Photoshop was excellent to a T, and I got scammed out of $150, and I lost my not lost, but like my Steam account, I couldn't access it for 2.5 days.
Oh wow.
So
thank you for telling me. I didn't know about that. That's some wild stuff.
There's a lot of scam stuff going on there. So like the person who scammed me, there were 2 people involved in the scam ring. And one of them was the one who sent the messages out to people and all that. But the other one was the one that conducted it. And he still, I think like a few days after everything was all said and done, still continued to harass me over email saying, if you don't do this, you'll get your account lost on Steam, all this kind of stuff. I just blocked his email. Never heard from him again. They're mostly like from out of state, out of country, all that kind of stuff. So guys, just be aware that this does happen on Discord, and put it like, just turn your DMs off unless you actually know the person.
Oh wow, that's good to know. Yeah, I didn't know. That's crazy. Yeah. I haven't had to deal with anything like that on Discord. Most of the time, I either just DM like people I know on Discord, or I'm in the Throwdown Discord, which is a great community. I love our fans. Like all the stories that we talk about every week, I literally just go into the Discord because they're hardcore like super gamers, which I love. So they're always posting all the latest things. So I don't even have to scourge for like news. I just go into the the Discord or our Discord. Start on Monday. Go through all the stories. I'm like, okay, here's what we're talking about this week. Thank you guys.
That's what people do on my Discord as well. So anytime I go in for stuff looking for news for the casual nerd, people already have articles that they send to me, and I'm just like, yes, I love this.
Yeah, and that's like the other side of being like a content creator and just being a visible person. Yeah, again, we've talked about all this negative bullshit, which is true, which we have to deal with. But man, when I interact with the good fans,
it's good.
It makes it worth it because just like I've had people who hate on me, I've had people who follow me that have been awesome for like 12 years from the beginning. People who knew me like when I was nobody, and that makes it worth it, or people going, Tony, man, Throw It Down's my favorite podcast. I look forward to waking up every Friday and Monday listening to you guys. I'm like, yeah, that makes it worth it. It absolutely does. Like, I wish there was more of it because the thing is, like, most of your followers are quiet. They don't really say anything. They're I don't like this term, but it is what it is. Lurkers. Most of your followers are lurkers. Yeah. They just enjoy the content and and talk to you. But it's a kind of a weird double-edged thing because the people who talk to you are the hardest core fans. But then you also could think, oh, I only have 30 fans.
Yeah, which isn't true. Yeah.
Which isn't true, yeah, because like on Twitter, I have a lot of followers, right? But in my mind, I have maybe 50 people that follow me because I regularly interact with about 50 people, So you got to remember, it's like, yes, you get a lot of shit, but those are just the very loud vocal minority. Most people, those 3,000 people, they're rocking with you because they're rocking with you,
Exactly.
And maybe like 10 of those people are fucking jerks or whatever. But they just enjoy the content. Like, hey, Ariel's fucking dope, but she got a new video that makes their day or whatever. They just won't tell you that, so it's good to remember that.
And that's the thing too of it. Like, I'm very fortunate to have a community that is very vocal about what they like and what they don't like about my content, and not in a bad way either. It's a very constructive critique kind of way. It's like what you said before to me about a certain comment that I got. It's like the unicorn comments. It's like it has the best of both worlds. It has the good, it has the constructive, it has where you can fix things, but it's a meaningful representation of how someone wants to see you succeed, and I love that.
Yeah, for sure. So that makes it worth it in the end, right?
Yeah.
Or like
it does.
You knowing that you're providing a good service to people, in the end, whether it be video or article, or whatever, like that. We are helping people in some small way, and that's a good thing.
Like, I will take all of the crap, the doxing, the death threats, the shitstorm, everything, just to see the people that I care about smile when it comes to my content, because I will take all of that if it means that I will be seeing people smile, be successful, make more money than I can even manage. So, just being real.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I know you're right about that. That makes it worth it. Like, I feel good knowing that, like, if I were to die today, I left the world better than I found it. That's a good thing because of the things I brought, to like, content and other people in general, so that makes it all worth it, all the bullshit that we got. This is how it is.
Exactly. We survive on coffee, anxiety, and stress.
Yes.
So one other topic I really want to dive into you with is, of course, the games. The games that we loved during this year, the games that we weren't so happy with this year, and what we're looking forward to the most. So, Tony, why don't you hit it off for us?
Yeah, some game. Okay, this year was probably my least gaming year. I didn't really play a lot because there wasn't a lot that interested me. By the way, I get shit for this too on Twitter. I can't even unapologetically love AAA games. That's my shit, right? Yeah. And I get a lot of people not to divert too much. Like, oh, you need to try indie games. You need to give them a shot. Dude, I'm a gaming journalist. Most of the games I've reviewed have been indie games. Like most of the games I play are not AAA games. They're because they're indie games are just more abundant. That's what I've mostly reviewed all my life. I know about indie games. There are a lot of awesome indie games out there that are fantastic, right? I'm talking about stuff like Limbo and Fez
so
and the Ori games.
Yeah.
Brilliant games, right? None of those games hold a candle to a AAA game for me. That's just what I like. Listen, I like big spectacle. I like big spectacle thing. Why do you think I love Avatar? Like, that's the shit I want to see. That movie looks expensive. I like games that look expensive as well.
You're gonna hate me. I can't stand Avatar.
Yeah, no, but you and I, we have different tastes in movies, which I've noticed. I know, I know you don't like Die Hard. To me, that's like fucking the pinnacle. Like this is the shit right there. So well structured and everything. This is why we have Die Hard clones. Yeah, like that's why do you think we have Die Hard on a blank? Because it's such a simple formula that works, But anyway, my point is like, I like the big spectacle games, and for the past 3 years, we have not been getting these at all.
What's this sweet shit? You haven't been getting them. I've been getting a lot.
Yeah, I know. If you're like an indie person, you've been like swimming in games. You've been drowning in games.
Oh yeah.
But for a guy like me, I'm like John Travolta.
Where is it?
Yeah. So like for this year, the big ones for me, Horizon Forbidden West. That is still the best looking game I've played this year. Like holy shit,
is really
like that
good.
game. Yeah, it's last gen, but it looks current gen. Like holy shit! Like Guerrilla Games, the Decima engine, absolutely brilliant, right? So that game was dope. God of War Ragnarok. That like, here's the funny thing about that game. That game looks and feels last gen to me, right? But that story and the characters, it's so good.
So good.
Like there's still lines in that game that I still think about, mostly coming from Odin. Like wow, such a well realized character.
Wait, you know what I actually did? I think I broke people because I mentioned that Odin sounds like a mafia boss.
No, he does. That's what makes him interesting.
I love Odin's character, but every time he talks,
that was on purpose. That's on it's not something that like a weird quirk. He literally styled after a mob boss. Like that was intentional.
It just reminded me of The Sopranos.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's intentional. You could tell he is a mob boss, he's a evil, crazy, fucked up dude, but he's charming, so you like him. Just like a mob boss, right?
Exactly.
So that's what held that game together for me. It's like the story and characters and just the payoff, seeing the character growth between the last game and this game, and then even going back to like the original God of War, remembering where Kratos came from, where he is now. It's such a satisfying character arc. And then of course, and this is in no order, even though God of War is probably my number one. Elden Ring, holy shit!
Oh, yeah.
Now, that game, that's an experience. Like, and I'm a big fan of From Software games. I've been a fan of theirs for a very long time, and this game is like it perfectly encapsulates everything you love about the company, just way bigger scale.
It really is, yeah.
But what's dope about it is like even the open world itself is so compelling. To me, that's how you do an open world. It is like the opposite of Breath of the Wild, which I thought was a soulless, empty open world.
I have yet
did
to
not
play
like
that
the game at all. Yeah, I you may like it. I know a lot of people like they swear by it, but I mean, like Elden Ring is what I wanted Breath of the Wild to be. It's like every foot has something interesting, right? But then when you get into the dungeons and you go into, then it feels like classic Souls games.
Yeah, exactly.
Because what I love about those games is the way they're structured is like the levels loop back around on each other.
Yeah.
Which is so good. So yeah, those 3 games for me. The 3 games I mentioned, they're strong, which makes it objectively a good year. But there was like a good 6 months where I just didn't play anything.
Interesting.
I was like, where the hell are these games? Like Xbox had nothing this year. PlayStation thankfully had things. They were cross-gen, which if you know me, I have a problem with that.
I'm not a fan of cross-gen the way I used to be. Like in the first year, it was cute, and I was really happy that they were doing the cross-gen. But as time went on, I'm like, isn't it a bit late to the game, no pun intended, for them to not be just strictly current gen platform?
Yeah, exactly. And then if we're gonna jump into most disappointing, I don't think it's a secret. It was my most disappointing game because I was looking forward to Callisto Protocol as soon as.
I saw you talking about that. I'm in the middle of that game. I'm on the 2nd chapter.
Oh, I got to hear your thoughts on it. Like,
oh, Jesus Christ!
What a disappointment! Like. Again, because I thought it was going to be like Dead Space.
Yeah.
No, it was. It was like I don't know why the game is so insistent on the melee part. I'm like, no, this is okay, not only that, like it feels like Punch Out, like well, weaving and dodging and stuff, and it's just broken, And then I actually did this. People probably get mad at me about this. I was like, okay, because I started playing this game on normal. I'm like, this is too much. I bumped it down to easy. It was still brutal. I'm like, okay, let me put it on the hardest difficult. I'm like, okay, I can't tell the difference.
That's weird.
Whether it's easy, normal, hard, it's the same difficulty to me. And it's because of the combat. The combat is just so bad. It is such an unsatisfying game. So, but the only good thing about it, the only saving grace is it looks gorgeous.
That's
like, holy shit.
Where I have the issue.
Yeah.
That's where actually for the first part of the playthrough that is up, I had to put in my editor's note for the thing because on the screen when I'm playing it, it looks so much better than when it was in post-production. It looked like crap. When I was in post-production with that thing, because I think it's because of the motion blur, to be honest. But when you could had the black colored parts, you saw all the little kind of pixelated things that weren't there when I was playing the game and I was seeing it in front of me on the screen. So it's such a shame because it's like I really am enjoying the game so far. I'll come back to you whenever I finish it. But there was a point in which, in the very beginning of the game, when he gets hooked up to that thing, the game immediately crashed.
Wow.
So
that's the other thing about it. It's very buggy too.
Yeah. And when I went into it, thankfully, it didn't crash again. But it's one of those things of where, so far the story development is kind of strange. The pacing, somewhat weird, because I'm not finding out anything about our main character so far. There's no character development really going on that much. It's just like, okay, we're thrown into this situation. We got to do this stuff now. I'm like, okay, what?
All right, I'm just gonna save you the time. Don't bother. It doesn't revolve. That's it. There's no character development of any kind in this game.
What the only part that I'm really enjoying about it is the graphics, the eerie ambiance, and the fact that it's linear because I love a good linear game.
Yeah,
I love a good linear game.
Yes. I don't. That's good. I like that. I like the people shitted on how long it is. No, I like the fact that it's only 8 hours. That's good.
Same.
Not every game needs to be 50 hours long.
Yeah.
By the way, usually on Twitter, I would traditionally write list my top 10 games of that year. Last year was the first year I was only 5. I'm like, there wasn't a lot of games I cared for.
Right.
I played a good 20 games last year.
Yeah.
But I just didn't care for most of them. This year, I'm like, wow, got to trim it down to 3.
Oh shit!
It's bad. That's why that's why I'm expecting you to talk about more games than I did. But it was just again, and I played obviously more than 3 games. I played a good chunk of games.
Yeah, exactly.
Most of them were just not even worth talking about.
Yeah, and for me personally, I think the list is kind of different because I'm looking at the games that I play currently right now, and it's because I'm playing a lot of older games that I never got to play before. So my list is going to be a little bit longer because of the older ones that are in the mix. So for this year, personally, the 3 games that make my list are Elden Ring, God of War Ragnarok, and Thymesia, even though I couldn't finish it because of the bug that it had. Because when I went into the game, absolutely gorgeous game. It reminded me of a combination between Dark Souls and Bloodborne. It was a story that was based on the bubonic plague, and you had to figure out all your memories and stuff, and it had Souls combat, and it was so satisfying to do. But when it got to the end of the game, there was an update that came out for the game, and I'm thinking, oh, cool, an update. That's great. They're fixing their stuff regularly. And when I went back into the game to record it, when you get to that chapter, or I don't know if it's throughout all the levels because I didn't check, but when I got into the game, besides your stats and your health bar and the little things down below your weapons and everything, the entire screen went black. There's nothing there.
Whoa.
So when I went in, try to find my way, because I couldn't see my way into the boss arena, you could see the cutscene, but when it came to the time where you had to fight the final boss, screen black besides stats and your weapons. That's it.
That's crazy.
That's it. Couldn't finish it. It pissed me off.
Yeah, and that was the final boss?
Very final boss. I finished every other boss besides that, and it made me so mad because it was such a good game. And that's the only reason why it's in my top 3, because this year it really tested how much of the games that were coming out, whether it was remakes or remasters or whatever it was, because The Last of Us Part 1 remake, I should say, was really good, and I really enjoyed it, but it was still The Last of Us, and it was still the same content as that, besides a few dialogue lines and graphics, of course, and accessibility that was changed up. But the losers of this year, oh boy. Okay, so this is a bit of an older game, and I have to look it over here for a second. Alien Fireteam. Loser. Terrible game. I would not recommend it at all whatsoever. I feel like what they were trying to do with it was a really cool thing, because you have like a modern day adaptation of what Alien Isolation would have looked like, but it just looked like Alien and Call of Duty. Like it was just bad. It's like it got boring after the first hour that I was playing it, and I'm sitting here like, why am I having a negative experience that is with Aliens? Because that movie came out in 1973 and I loved it. Like, I wasn't around then, but I loved it when I got to see it.
By the way, I got to protect you right now. Alien came out in 1979.
Alien.
And then obviously Aliens, which to me is like top 3 movies of all time. That's 1986.
Yeah.
But it's just funny you're telling me this. I'm like, did we not learn the lessons of Alien Colonial Marines? Look how horrible that game came out, and you're effectively doing that again, And you figured that'd be an easy formula. It's like, yo, give you a gun and shoot aliens. It should work, but no one's really mastered. I know there's some. I know there was an Alien versus Predator game that was better received.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, but by the way, Alien Isolation is fucking awesome.
It was so good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the other game, I do have to give an honorable mention to one game that I didn't think, actually, 2 games, I didn't think I would like, but I highly enjoyed. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. I enjoyed thoroughly the campaign. Even though I can't stand a lot of Call of Duty stuff, love their campaign. And then the second one is Far Cry 6. I loved that game so much, and I did not expect to like it at all.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And let's see, the other 2 losers of the group. Oh boy, here we go. Where are they? Because I know they're here. Okay, you're gonna hate that I'm gonna say this. Uncharted 2. I played it this year. Biggest loser of the year, because the storyline, the way I can understand why the graphics were the way they were when they came out. I'll accept that. The random monsters, the way that the flow of it was just, it didn't appeal to me whatsoever. I think the best Fallout game was 1 and 4. Those were not Fallout. Wow. The best Uncharted games was 1 and 4, because I feel like that's where the peaks were. Like, why do I keep saying Fallout? Jesus Christ, people are going to think that I actually like the games.
They traumatize, yeah.
God.
It's still stuck in your head, yeah.
I know, right?
Yeah, but that's why, that's the other reason I like talking to you, because your gaming opinions are different than mine. Your Uncharted ranking is the opposite of mine. Completely the opposite. I don't know if you played Golden Abyss, so I don't know we should count that. But it's opposite. To me, Uncharted 2 is actually probably my 3rd favorite game of all time.
Wow.
All 3 of my favorite games have the same thing in common. Metal Gear Solid 3. And I'm saying this in order: Metal Gear Solid 3, Mass Effect 2, and Uncharted 2. They're all the greatest movies I've ever played.
Wow.
You feel it's so cinematic. And Uncharted 2, when that came out, because I played when it first came out. Holy shit, that was incredible. You really felt it starts, you're in the train, what is going on? This is crazy. Even now, as I'm telling you this, I'm like, oh my God, I'm reliving these memories. And that game, every game after that, try to be Uncharted 2. It was crazy. And that's why I was so disappointed with Uncharted 3, because I'm like, oh, okay, this is going to be even better. That game, all its best parts were just recalling the last game, right? And the game's best sequence, the boat sequence.
Okay, yeah.
Think about this from a narrative standpoint. Remove that entire sequence; it is inconsequential to the plot, because literally Nathan Drake goes off into the ocean. He does all this crazy. Again, the set piece is incredible, right? He lands back on the beach and picks up where he left off. I'm like,
yeah,
that meant nothing. This is stupid. The boss battle was cool with the gin and stuff. But I also remember, it was so funny too, because I was on Twitter at this point too, right? I'm on a talk about Uncharted 2 going fucking crazy. I was like, it was when you first meet the Yetis, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, yo, these motherfuckers look like dudes in suits, right? And then you find out they were dudes in suits. I'm like, holy shit, the PS3 is so powerful that guys in suits look like guys in suits. This is insane. This is incredible, absolutely incredible. And then the little things like, you know the building, like, you know, when it's like rocking back and forth, the fucking water is moving independently of the building. And that was like a new technology that they invented. And then they were like, yo, for Uncharted 3, like, yo, let's do that, but on a big fucking boat, you know? So like Uncharted 2 was so incredible. Until this day, I'm like, that is like peak fucking gaming to me. And every Uncharted game has gone downhill like bad, you know. Uncharted 4 was better than 3 just because it was at least trying to be its own, but I didn't like that game.
Really?
I remember I was re-reviewing it again because they released it on PC.
Yeah, exactly.
And I played it for about an hour. I'm like, oh yeah, I now remember why I don't like this game. Too much walking simulator shit going on. Like I don't care about this stuff. You know, I do not like walking simulators at all. Shit like Firewatch or whatever. Like, ugh.
I'm guessing you don't like Death Stranding either.
No, I love Death Stranding.
Okay, wait, how does that work? Because break something down for all of the people who say that Death Stranding is a walking simulator. Then, because whenever I hear the argument against that game, they say, you're walking too much, is this, is that. I was like, there's philosophy in the game, they gotta understand behind it. And that's not me being patronizing, that's me just saying you gotta understand that there are more mature themes that a lot of people are used to when it comes to a game that'll just spoon feed you the content.
Yeah. See, when I'm using that term, I'm using it the way the industry does. A walking simulator is a game where all you do is just hold up and you walk, right?
Yeah.
By that definition, Death Stranding is not a walking simulator because you literally have an entire arsenal and you're fighting giant monsters.
That's true. Okay.
So there you go. It's like, yes, you are trudging through stuff. You're climbing stuff. But even the climbing, you have to physically do this stuff, right? It's not just hold up and just walk down the street like fucking, like Firewatch or Gone Home, stuff like that. I'm like those are real legit walking simulators. So when I say that about Uncharted, there are parts where you can't just start shooting or anything. You have to just hold up, Uncharted 4 and just walk around, follow your brother around when you're a little kid or whatever, all these things. But Death Stranding, you have to physically go up a mountain or whatever.
Exactly.
You have to make sure you're not carrying too much stuff because you can't climb the mountain or run away from a monster. Like, there's a lot involved in the game. And I also and I also love the fact that it's just pure, unadulterated, undiluted Hideo Kojima insanity.
That's true.
Like, he just said, fuck. That's why I love, Avatar, too. It's like, James Cameron said, you can't tell me nothing. I'm doing what I want. And I respect that. I respect that a lot, So that's why, when I heard about, when I saw that Death Stranding 2 announcement, I was like, let's fucking let's go.
I was screaming. Oh my God. I watched the Game Awards with my dad and he was like, wait a second, that's the collector's edition BB that you have in your room. And I was like, let's go. I'm ready for this. I'm ready for Hideo Kojima to just go feral with this game.
Yeah.
Dark Souls 3, I finished. Oh my gosh, Dark Souls 3 is so freaking good. Like, unless you've played Dark Souls 1, you won't feel the emotions that will grasp you by the balls in Dark Souls 3, So when I'm looking at different of the games right now. What was it? I think it was Sekiro Shadows Die Twice. That one is fucking amazing. It was so good. Like, I never thought I could ever beat that final boss Ishin Sword Saint. And I so surprised myself because the thing is with From Software games, and I don't know if this is a topic you want to go into, so many people are saying it should have an easy mode, it should have a story mode. It's like, nope. I understand the story mode. I get the story mode, but having it on easy mode, I feel like is just an insult to the players because people equate, and this is what I really don't get, people equate an easy mode with accessibility. It has nothing to do with the other. Nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
Like, when you're talking about accessibility, you're talking about the shaders behind the text. You're talking about control work. You're talking about all that kind of stuff. Easy mode has nothing to do with it. So when I talk about, like, Bloodborne and how there should be an expansion with it, people are like, oh, it's going to be so difficult. I was like, that's kind of the point of From Software games. Like, yeah, you don't want to die constantly or anything like that, and you want to chill with the game sometimes, but the whole point of a From Software game is for it to challenge you.
Yes, and that's what I want to say. I don't believe From Software games are hard. I think they're challenging. There's a difference.
Exactly.
You know, they're deliberately challenging, and to me, I'm against them making them easy because I feel that would like ruin the game. You know, because you feeling that tension of any little thing can kill me at any
Yeah.
time. If you're not constantly feeling that, that's against the director's like vision, you know. And I'm to me that's what needs to be preserved more than anything, you know. And just like on the flip side, if somebody wants an easy mode in their game, good. If that's what they want, put it in there, right? Whatever is like again, because I just going back to Death Stranding, that's why I love Hideo Kojima. He's probably my favorite creator because he has a singular vision. He follows through with it. And, you know, Miyazaki, you know, who makes the Souls games, that's what he wants. He wants to challenge you. If you were to have easy modes and you don't have that tension, then you lose the heart of the game. Games did you like this year?
So this year, okay, which other ones did I go to? I'm looking up right now. I think it was this year I also played Kenna Bridge of Spirits, which that one was interesting.
Yeah.
It took me off guard with kind of how repetitive it was, which that's the idea of it in essence, but I love it. It had such a beautiful photo mode. It had a beautiful story. Made me tear up like a little bitch, not gonna lie. But what was it? The other one that I was really a fan of, where is it? Detroit Become Human. That one was incredibly done. Like Jesse, I think it was Jesse Williams, who was one of the characters who played in the game as one of the robots. His acting absolutely incredible in that game. The way that the story was carried off of how every choice that you make has an impact. I loved that so much.
Yeah, when did that come out? 2018. I'm not sure, but
Yeah.
I remember I played that review that was good because I'm a fan of the company Quantic Dream. I know they have some issues.
Yeah.
I understand that, but the game. I remember I got a little bit of flack that year because I was one of the few journalists that actually reviewed the game positively. Most people hated it because of David Cage and all that. I understand that, but I'm like, this is great.
Beautiful
This
game.
is awesome.
Yeah.
You know, and I like the other games they had, Beyond Two Souls, Heavy Rain. They were fantastic games. So I enjoyed this one. To me, that's easily their best game, the company's game. Like, it's just a culmination of everything they were building up towards, you know. So yeah, I'm glad you got to play that. Also, Kena was one of those games where I played the demo. I had to preview it. I thought it was good. It reminded me of like old, PS3, PS2 almost, like platforming. That was really good. I just didn't have the time to play, but I will give that game respect. It looks nice. It plays nice. You know, amazing.
I do have to ask you, Tony, to end off things on not a cliffhanger, but just a looking forward to kind of a note. What are you most looking forward to in the coming year of 2023, game-wise?
Yeah, Final Fantasy 16, without a doubt. I've been talking about this game since the PS5 came out. I was like, yo, I need this game. I love Final Fantasy. That's probably my favorite RPG series. I know that's kind of like the standard answer or whatever, but I just love it because, again, it's so big and cinematic, and like you just tell they just throw all the money at these games. I love that. Final Fantasy 15, great. I love that, even though that goddamn turtle took me forever to beat. If you guys played it, you know what I'm talking about. I had to get that platinum. I was fighting this stupid turtle for like 3 hours, you know. But yeah, Final Fantasy 16, I love the fact that it's going back to being medieval, but not only that, it's like brutal. Like they killed a kid in the trailer. I'm like, yo, this is serious right now. Like, okay, they killed a chocobo too, which I was like, yo.
I was like, you never don't touch chocobo.
Yeah, like they killed a chocobo. I'm like, okay, this is like they killed a chocobo and a kid within like 5 seconds of each other. I'm like, this is some serious shit.
Yeah.
You know, so that's probably the game I'm looking forward to. Please, Square Enix, release that. Like don't delay it. You know, although you delayed it from YouTube. You know, but man, I can't wait for that. And if it comes out, Spider-Man 2. Oh my god,
So
Insomniac
excited.
to me. That is, to me, the MVP company of Sony right now. These guys are like if it wasn't for them, I would not have a lot of hope in PlayStation 5. But these guys are legit. Like you had the Spider-Man remaster remake, you had Miles Morales, you had Ratchet and Clank. Ratchet and Clank is dope. Like that game, like if you need to buy a PS5 for one game, that's the game to show off because
I still haven't played it.
Utilize it. Yeah, it is so good.
Really?
You know, so I'm like, so yeah, because it actually takes advantage of the hardware. It actually does. You know, like the super fast, like you're traveling within dimensions like a snap of a finger and stuff, no loading. It's super impressive. Also, it just looks gorgeous. But yeah, Insomniac, I don't know what, they're wizards. They really are. It's like they give you all the modes. Like you got fidelity, you got performance ray tracing. It's like they give you all this stuff, you know. So yeah, Spider-Man 2. What else? I can't. Oh yeah, got to do it because motherfuckers will get mad at me. Even though it is Bethesda, yes, I'm looking forward to Starfield. Even though I'm scared, I'm scared that it'll be buggy mess. I'm scared, but like if they give me that same sense of immersion at the Fallout game, Fallout, the world building is so good. Like I just talking about this, the world building itself. Yeah. It's like this is what people from the 1950s thought like the future would look like. That is so cool. You know. True. Yeah, I love that. It's great. You saw greasers everywhere, even though it's like the year 2000 or whatever, 2030. By the way, that's how you can tell I'm old. The year 2000 is the future. It's like, we're 20 years from that, you know. But
that's true.
Yeah, it's yeah, because you got to remember when I was growing up, I was told the world would end in the year 2000, 1999. That's it. The world's going to end in 1999. Yep. So I'm here 2022, like still judging things by 2020 standards. Like, oh man, that happened 40 years ago. No, it didn't happen 40 years ago, Tony. You were born 40 years ago. You're talking about something that happened 60 years ago, 20 years before that, you know? But yeah, Final Fantasy 16, Spider-Man are probably, and Starfield are probably like the big ones. I'm pretty sure there's other stuff, but I've said this on Twitter too. I don't trust release dates too much anymore. Yeah. So I'm going to hold off on being too excited about things, but yeah, I think if we get just those 3 games alone, it's gonna be a good year. Well, there's all other stuff. The Horizon Forbidden West is getting a DLC.
I heard about that.
That's gonna be dope. Cyberpunk is gonna get an expansion. That's gonna be good. So yeah, there's some good. I think next year will be good. I look forward to it. I'm trying to be optimistic about it.
How's that working out for you?
We'll see. I'll let you know by June of next year.
Oh God, yeah, no, that's when everything is going to. If shit's gonna hit the fan, that's when it's gonna hit it. So, but Tony, I do have to say that is it for us today for this podcast. It's been a long one. It's been a fun one. I hope you enjoyed yourself as much as I enjoyed myself here.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's always been a blast. Again, I just literally, it's like I want to hang out with Ariel, so that was enough for me, you know. But I hope everybody else enjoyed the conversation. They probably will because it's just an honest conversation and all that. People always seem to enjoy that. That's why people like listening to me. It's just me and a bunch of my friends just talking about games, you know. And people, I feel that people will feel like they were just hanging out with other gamers, just talking about games and stuff, which is what it's all about, you know. It's like we're not doing all these crazy edits or whatever, you know. It's just people just talking, you know. And there's obviously, you know, that kind of content is good and all that, but me personally, I just like people just talking, being honest, being real, and that's always good stuff. You can never replicate that, you know. AI will never take over that shit like it is with art.
Exactly. I so agree. But you guys, that was it for me. If you guys like our faces and what we do, please be sure to subscribe and hit that bell down below. I make videos every day here on YouTube. May you find your worth in the waking world, dear hunter. Stay casually nerdy, and I will see you all in the next video or podcast. See you guys.